So what we're going to do today is we are going to start with the oath of office. I will be administering the oath of office to our new student board member, Alexis Saldana. After me, I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I will take this obligation freely without any mental hesitation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations. Now we will have our student lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Alexis is our new school board member for this school year, and she is a student at Corona High School, and I believe ASB president and ASB president. Okay. I'm sure. In closed session, by a vote of 5-0, the board took action to approve the following management reclassifications. Katrina Sisbesma to elementary school assistant principal, Reagan Elementary School, effective October 1st, 2019, and Diane Alexander to interim elementary school assistant principal at Eisenhower and Vicentia Elementary, effective September 4th, 2019. I will now call on Mr. Gonzalez for further comment.
Thank you, Madam President. So we have two new members of our management team we'd like to introduce this evening. We have Katrina Sisbesma. So there's Katrina. Katrina was a product of the district, I think a Centennial graduate, and has worked in the district and a resident of Eastville. I think you have some family members here.
I do. I have my husband David here, my son Wesley, and my daughter Avery.
Congratulations. We also have Diane Alexander. Diane is also been an employee here in the district in a variety of capacities, both general ed and special ed. Most currently serves as the TSA over at Parkridge Elementary and will be the interim assistant principal over at Eisenhower and Vicentia. We have family members that are going to make it through.
All of them.
They made it, all right.
My husband Rob is here. My son Mason is here. My daughter Brooke is here, right there. She is. My brother Kurt is here. My father Kurt is here, and his wife Linda is here.
Congratulations.
Okay, now we will go to the adoptions of the minute. Is there a motion and a second to adopt the minutes of August 6th regular business meeting? Motion? Okay. Is there a motion and a second to adopt the minutes of August 20 board study session?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, we would like to give a special thanks to the staff and communications for our here tonight recording our meeting for posting on our district website. Special recognition, 2019 Western Municipal Water District. Ms. Judy Nell?
Thank you, President Barra. Here with us this evening, we have Liselle DeGrave from the Western Municipal Water District, and she is here to present some water grant awards to several of our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm Liselle DeGrave from Western Municipal Water District. Since 1995, Western has honored educators in both our retail and wholesale service area with grant funding through the Lewis B. Krieger Water Project Grants for Educators program to ensure that water education is taught in our classrooms. Through this funding opportunity and the dedication of teachers like the ones joining us here today, water education will remain a priority for future leaders in Western service area. Before you today, we will be recognizing 8 teachers who were awarded grants for the 2018-2019 school year. So they've already done the hard work, and now we're here to celebrate that. Their projects are complete, and today we will celebrate their accomplishments, and tomorrow we hope that they apply for another grant. The grant application period has opened, and we encourage teachers to apply for this year's funding up to $1,000. And the deadline to apply is November 8th. I will leave some cards with you if you'd like to pass these out. Our first teacher that we'd like to recognize this evening is Araceli Anguiano from Corona High School. Araceli, are you here? Would you like them to stay up and we can do this? If you want to just stay up here, we'll do it. Our next teacher is Patricia Ball from Beatrice Bauer. Our next teacher is not here today, but it's Shannon Bernard from Eleanor Roosevelt High School. Her project is Set Life on Mars. The next teacher, Carolyn Diaz, should be here. Cynthia Fimbres from Temescal Valley is not here this evening, but we'd like to recognize her. Mr. Abe Paya. There he is. Kelly Remington. There's a few that we get year after year. Araceli and Abe and Kelly is another name that we are always so happy to see them apply. No Kelly. Okay, and then our last one, she's not here this evening either, but it's Maria Sheehan from If you'd like to come up, we could do a group photo. Okay.
Yeah.
proposal to name the Jefferson Elementary School the Mary Ann Sherman Library. Ms. Judy now.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to introduce the principal at Jefferson Elementary, Alejandro Vasquez, who will be doing a presentation this evening and later on in the agenda for your consideration for approval.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Education, and Executive Cabinet. My name is Alejandro Vasquez, and thank you for this opportunity to present tonight. We at Jefferson have been blessed to have worked with Mary Ann Sherman for the last 25 years. She retired 5 years ago, but she served our community for 25 years, like I said. Tonight, we'd like to present for your consideration and hopefully approval the naming of our future library that should be finished in construction in August of 2021 as the Mary Ann Sherman Library. In the image that you see behind you, that's the actual rendering of what our library should look like on the right side, which is attached to 2 computer labs on the left side. So a little bit about Mary Ann Sherman. Mary Ann Sherman worked at Jefferson Elementary, like I said, for 25 years between 1989 and 2014 as our school librarian. During this time, she shared her love for reading with our students, parents, staff, and community in a compassionate manner. Mary Ann is a humble, patriotic servant leader who always seeks out ways to make our community and school a better place for our students and all. In her 25 years of service, Mary Ann, and in retirement, I should say, Mary Ann has gone above and beyond her duties as a librarian and as a community member. And here are some of her contributions that we can think of right off the top of our hat here. So, special events. She started our teddy bear dinner for our second grade students who were in need of some extra love. She started book fairs, teacher night, hugs and kisses, charity donations. She's coordinated Shop with a Cop. She's assisted in placing our school on the National Register of Historic Places, which was a big undertaking. She's also assisted in starting our recycling program. She included senior citizens reading program with our students. At one time, she also worked with Orange High School and brought some of their students to do some reading with our students. She helps coordinate our Patriots Day. She's part of the Kiwanis Club. Winter holiday program. She's even bringing in Santa all the time, which is her husband, Tom. So we always thank Tom for being dragged into it. And they always make special events and presentations at our school. Special assemblies that she's brought to make our students' lives better and more enriched our assemblies, such as you see on the left side, there's a reptile presentation that she was able to secure for our school. She does gifts such as blankets or pillows for some of our special students, and that's in the middle picture, something to give them comfort. She's brought elected officials to our schools, state senators, state legislators, board members. She's also worked with Target volunteers and had a greeting program for us, and sometimes that she brings them to help us with our donations, as you can see in some of those pictures right there. So donations, she's always looking for ways to help fund events for our students. She's always helped us attain many of the Target grants for $1,000. She's helped our students receive free eye exams from Target and glasses. And she's even given gift cards to our teachers to use with students who may not have the ability to buy, for example, books at our book fair. So she'll take money out of her pocket, give it to special winners, and give them the opportunity to participate with everybody else. She's actually also was able to get us a $1,000 anonymous donation, which she made specifically that it had to be for an imagination machine assembly to provide our students with an avenue to share their writing. For Thanksgiving, every single year, basically, she's been able to secure turkey dinners. Typically, it's about 40 to 50 turkeys plus the trimmings. 102 bags of food. Just last Thanksgiving, I had over 60 bags of canned food, dried, and food that I had assorted, and we called families in to pick them up because we knew they were in need. She does random food giveaways. For example, just at the end of this year, she came with 2 truckloads full of strawberries that she was able to attain, and she'll come and she'll set her shop up, as we say, and she gives food away to our needy families. She gives vegetables away, and financial donations, like I said. She's also done sock and gift card donations for students who may not have proper attire for school. And finally, school supplies donations, like, for example, from the Joe Dominguez Post. So as you can see, this is a litany of things that she's done for our school and our families, and she's still doing that. She just contacted me this weekend regarding our Patriots Day Assembly. She's already helping secure our first responders. So she's always on the go, go, go. I feel like now that she's retired, she's actually doing a lot more than before for our school, so we really appreciate that, and of her time and her family. So the timeline, we started talking about this idea of possibly naming the library after Marianne in 2017. We discussed it as we reflected on how much we were going to miss her and how much she's done for our community. In 2018, we debated whether it should be the old library or the new library since we're going into construction. And we had a discussion and we decided that, you know what, the new library would be a good place because that's where the books will be housed and our old library will become a computer lab. So we talked about it and decided that we would like to make the proposal to look into making the new library, the Marianne Sherman Library. So in this school year, on August 21st, we had a school site council meeting, and unanimously we all agreed that we should bring this proposal to you for your consideration. So our proposal is basically upon CNUSD board approval, Jefferson Elementary School would like to name our future library as the Marianne Sherman Library. Dedication to be conducted after school construction is completed, which is projected to be at the end of August 2021. Thank you very much. And that concludes.
Thank you. Now we will have the proposal to change the name of the Philistine Rondo Elementary School to Philistine Rondo School of Discovery and the announcement of the school mascot that we are waiting for.
So at this time, I'd like to call up the principal, Dr. Trevor Dietrich, and he will be doing a short presentation. And similar to the Jefferson proposal, this is also on the agenda tonight for discussion and action. Dr. Dietrich.
I'm sorry that screen's not working.
Philistine Rondo is set to open as Colornoco's first elementary magnet school, featuring a STEAM instructional framework and the district's first Mandarin immersion program. Should the school have a name that better describes the potential Rondo has to be an amazing place for students to learn? Principal Dr. Dietrich set out to answer that question by meeting with stakeholders and parents of future Philistine Rondo students to discuss potential names and branding for the new school. The 25-member committee, made up of parents of current Ronald Reagan and Rosa Parks students, met to consider names of current similar magnet schools nationally in the state of California and locally. The committee wanted to keep in mind that Philistine Rondo would include not only a STEAM instructional framework, but also a Mandarin immersion program. Therefore, the name and branding for the school should include both programs. After much discussion, the committee unanimously decided to recommend to the school board a slight adjustment to the school's name. For your consideration, the parent committee recommends we change the name of the school from Philistine Rondo Elementary School to Philistine Rondo School of Discovery, a name which better captures the potential of this school. Dr. Dietrich met with student committees from both Reagan and Parks to identify potential mascots for Philistine Rondo and colors for the school. Each 3rd, 4th, and 5th grader from Rosa Parks and Ronald Reagan Elementary Schools got to vote on the mascot and the colors. In the end, the Rondo Raptors won with a color palette of bright light blue and red. Do you have any questions about the process or about the name recommendation for Philistine Rondo School of Discovery?
So just so you know, that was a Adobe Spark presentation, which is something that you still see as Rondo students as they demonstrate their learning in a STEAM framework using technology a little different way. I was challenged by Dr. Sutton, that's why I said I'm inspired to show you something a little bit different than a PowerPoint this evening. Do you have any questions about the name recommendation? I tried to get as close to the color palette as I could with my attire this evening. All right, well, no questions. Yeah, I think the school, the district has 31 elementary schools, and this one is slated to be kind of unique, so we're looking at a way to brand it as such. A new place for kids to live. It's going to be amazing. I got to walk the campus with a couple of youths this afternoon. It's a really beautiful place. So thank you for your consideration.
What were some of the other named mascots that were brought up?
Well, the mascots, okay, so we started with a student committee, one at Rose Parks and one at Reagan. And this was based on the geocode, so kids that were living in the boundaries are likely to attend. And we started looking at many, from the Rondo Roosters, the Rondo Rays, the Rondo Robots was actually one that was brought up by a student at Rose Parks. And the two committees whittled it down to two, the Rondo Raptors and the Rondo Robots. And then I went back to each site and had printed sample mascots, or sample renderings on posters, and each kid, at this point it was every student, third, fourth, and fifth, got to spend a dot, put a sticker on the one that they chose. So at Rosa Parks it was close between the robots and the Raptors, but at Reagan it was a landslide. The Raptors won clearly.
So the Raptors is a dinosaur? I don't know what a Raptor.
It's also a basketball team in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Currently NBA champions. So yes,
All right.
It works. Both the robots and the Raptors kind of work with the NGSS, the Next Gen Science Standards. Obviously, the robots and the STEAM, self-explanatory, but paleontology and the study of the fossil record is also part of the NGSS. And you can make a raptor blue and red too. There's no really other color they wear. Yes, sir.
Yeah. In terms of your demographics, there's a focus on Mandarin. How many families of Mandarin background do you have now?
Well, I can tell you how many came to the committee meeting because we don't have a student population finished being identified yet. There's in the boundaries, but sixth graders have the option to stay and so forth. But at the committee, I invited 5 or 6 parents from Rosa Parks and from Reagan, based on, again, the geocode where they live and principal recommendation. But I also reached out to a contact that Mr. Menachie had to make sure that we included the Mandarin community. And we probably had about 30 parents there, and only 3 of them were not of Chinese descent. So it was at that particular committee meeting. I'm hearing numbers around 50%, but to be honest with you, I don't have the exact demographic information.
So I'll be interested to know how many families or students are interested in Mandarin, and you're going to give us an update on that, right?
I'm sure we will, yes.
Good.
Yeah. I imagine that program's going to be at capacity. So I'll get you some statistics. Okay, thank you for your consideration.
Okay, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Lin.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening. And I'd like to thank, first of all, Dr. Dietrich for his creative and enthusiastic presentation. Since the day that the board has appointed Dr. Dietrich as the principal at Rondo Elementary School, and soon to be, with your approval, Philistine Rondo School Discovery, he really has been working hard. In fact, this morning, we were able to arrange a very quick walkthrough. I wouldn't call that exactly a tour, but a walkthrough with a couple of the board members that were available this morning and a couple of our cabinet members that were available this morning is indeed a we receive. And we're very excited for CNUSD to provide another option for all of our students and who would like to take advantage of the Mandarin immersion program to complement the 16th year going, I believe actually 17th year going, of a very, very robust Spanish immersion program. So again, thank you for your hard work. We try to appreciate that. I want to congratulate a couple of our new assistant principal candidates that has been approved. So I should say our new assistant principals. And I'm not sure they're still here, especially the families. I'm just so excited for them. And we're able to find 2 cream of the crop candidates to be assistant principals. They're long-time citizens and also community members of our school district, with children attending our schools, and that's just an added element to the family. So congratulations to both Katrina and Diane. I want to say congratulations, again, pending board approval for Marianne Sherman for certain. I got to know Mary very well for the past, can't believe, over a dozen years now. She inspires me. I know she inspires a lot of people in the community. I'm just very, very happy that Alex, the principal, is making this recommendation for your approval later. I'm looking forward to that action and to be realized. Last Thursday and Friday, we got the opportunity with a group of our board of trustees and cabinet members and principals and assistant principals to witness another really record in the making, so to speak. And Jazz Hill has been around our community for a long, long time. And that name's been within the community over many generations. Just to name a couple of the accomplishments, other than being a professional athlete, he was also the athletic director at USC, which is a position that's currently being held, I should say, by Lynn Swan, if I remember correctly. So very prestigious, very influential gentleman. We were able to bring his name and to memorialize and to honor the Corona High Stadium with his name. That was such an honor. Again, thank you for the board members who were able to attend and to see that come to fruition. Thank you for your support for that. Certainly want to say thank you and congratulations to the teachers who are receiving the water project for that grant award. And thank you for the Western Municipal Water District for the support every year. And finally, I want to say congratulations and certainly welcome. When we see young leaders like you, Lexus, it reminds us why we do what we do each and every day. So excited to have you and learn a lot and have fun. Welcome. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Now I have a public hearing statement, agenda item number 7A. The public hearing on resolution number 44, public textbook and instructional material compliance for fiscal year 2019 to 2020 is now open. Governing boards of school district must provide assurance to the superintendent of public instructions that the district has held a public hearing and made a determination through a resolution as to whether each pupil in the district in kindergarten through grade 12, including English language learners, has been provided with standards, aligned textbook or basic instruction material, or both, to be used in class and to take home to complete required homework assignments prior to the end of the fiscal year 2019-2020, consistent with the content and cycles of the curriculum framework adopted by the state board. Anyone wishing to address the board on the above may do so now. Okay. The public hearing is now closed and the board will consider the adoption of resolution number 44 later in the meeting. Student board member report.
Thank you, Madam President. Today at our meeting, we first discussed each school's first week of school and what activities they hosted for students. Corona passed out donuts and held up welcome back posters on the first day. JFK also had a welcome back assembly, activities and prizes. Roosevelt had class council organize activities and they also had posters for each day. Santiago had each day designated for an activity and they also hosted their Shark Fest on Friday. Centennial had first day pre-made signs and their main focus was on the freshmen. Norco had a DJ in the quad, an assembly on Friday, and a class tug of war on Friday. We also addressed senior events. Corona will be hosting their senior sunrise this Thursday on the 5th. JFK had their senior sunrise last Friday and they had a really good turnout. Roosevelt will also have their senior sunrise this Thursday and they have ordered butterflies and bubbles. Santiago had their sunrise last week and they had booths where people could write out things for their future selves. Centennial had their sunrise the same day as Santiago and they announced their common core and they also had bubbles. Norco has their sunrise September 13th and they will also have bubbles and donuts. We also discussed each school's spirit sections and what they were getting students to be excited about the games and making the games fun for students. So each school has a different club that is in charge of these, and we discussed what we wanted to do in the future to make these games more fun for students. We also discussed each school's homecoming themes. Corona's homecoming is October 12th. It is themed Wizard of Oz, and October 18th is the game and the tailgate. JFK does not have a homecoming. Roosevelt's homecoming is October 12th. They will have a tailgate as well, and their theme is American Horror Story. Santiago's theme is Alice in Wonderland. It will be September 27th, the dance, and there will be many activities like henna and karaoke dance as well. Norco's dance is September 21st. It is also Wizard of Oz. September 27th is the game, and they will be doing floats. For any other events that the schools wanted to share, Centennial is having a school drive and a unity forum, and they wanted to reach out to do a leadership forum with all of the leaderships in the district. And they really wanted to push College Night, which is district-wide. Roosevelt is having 2 new programs implemented, the Eastville Leads Initiative, that takes all leadership programs from elementary schools and middle schools and do training. The second program is Project Pulse, which focuses on recycling after all the football games. And that concludes my report.
Okay, we'll move on to board member reports. Mr. Z, we'll start with you.
Well, I know we have a lot of speakers, so I will be succinct, I think. I'd like to know where we're at. These, Dr. Lynn, these are several items that I've brought up in the past, and I'd just like to kind of know where we're at. As far as looking at programs we might be able to kind of scale back on, where that process is at, then how we're going at looking at with CNTA and CSEA, possible cuts that we can make with the impending recession and downturn, which we know we will hit. Better to act now than wait till the ball drops. So where we're at with that committee. And then finally, along the same lines as saving money, I really want us to see us, and I've mentioned this too, but to make this much more formal, a speakers bureau of in-house people, because Trevor's here. You know, he can do the lighthouse talk for us, and we don't have to spend literally thousands of dollars to get somebody from the East Coast, pay for the hotel. He can do it in-house. He's an expert at it. He's a trainer of trainers. So thank you for being there. Great example, but he's just one example. And we really have people at all levels. So like to see that really formalized. So with that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lisa Martin.
Good evening. I am now serving my 10th month as a school board member, so a lot of things have been happening. I've been trying to visit as many schools as I can. On August 23rd, Mary and I met with the president from Norco College and looking at the programs that they're going to continue and some of the avenues that they're going to do some research on. So we're excited about that because things are moving along. On August 26th, Dr. Lawless and I went to JFK and visited their innovative program and some of the new things that they're using for the students so that they can excel in their classes. We also was part of that, Jess Hill, he's a phenomenal person. What a model for the community, a model for the children to see where he, as actually a graduate from Corona High in 1925, then went to the Army, became a lieutenant in the Navy. Then he came back and he coached 4 sports for USC. You know, he was not only a football player, he was a baseball player too as well. So I was impressed that he was on the Yankees and he was on the A's and he was with the Senators. And then he comes back and they said if there was another sport he could be in, it would probably been tennis. So he was a natural athlete. But when I was talking to his family, none of his family members are athletes. He believed in education. He believed that his children should do something, and all of them have fulfilled his dreams and their dreams by becoming accomplished individuals. So he would be really proud of that. On Friday night, we went to the game, and they dedicated the stadium to him. And again, very exciting to see something like this going on. And again, we are always looking for role models out there so that we can tell our students that you can succeed and you can make a difference. And that's what he did. He made a difference in the community, and they really appreciate him because he gave more than he received. So, and then today we did go to the Traverse School, and it is under construction, but you can see it is almost a mirror image of Reagan. And so it's just on the opposite side. They have a very nice facility, and again, the technology will be there and ready for the students when they open in July 2020. And John and I were able to be in the Norco parade, and we were so proud of our Norco softball girls, the national champions. And their rings, I've never seen rings like that on their little hands. They were bigger than some of the professional athletes that I've seen with their, and they were so proud of that. And they promised that they'll win again. But thank you, and thank you. I'm looking forward to more visits and sharing these great times with the students. Thank you.
Mr. Bill Paul.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I want to thank everybody who came out tonight, especially I want to give a shout out to the Temescal Valley Education Committee and the residents of Temescal Valley. I'm just very excited that you're here. Thank you for being here and being dedicated in the issues that we're discussing. So thank you very much. I also wanted to piggyback on what Dr. Lynn and Elizabeth said with the Jess Hill Memorial Stadium. That was just incredible to hear the story. I want to thank the Corona History Association for really bringing this forward to us and to meet his family and to hear what he did. A little Corona boy, it was just pretty incredible. And some of the things that you heard, he stood up against racism and segregation. You don't hear that story, but as a coach for USC, he took his team to Texas to play Texas, and he said no because the hotel would not let 3 of the black athletes stay there. Walked out. It might have seemed like a little gesture at the time, but I think it made huge impact. And so it was really exciting to hear his story and to see his family, and they were very appreciative. Mary and I had a chance to start some informal introductory discussions with some city council members, Jackie Casillas and Jim Steiner. I know West Speak, a council member who's here tonight, was very proactive in getting this going. We want to really start some communication so we could collaborate and communicate and be on the same page, work together for the safety of our students and for our community around our schools. So we're just starting that. Eastvale has a school committee. Norco has a school committee. Corona, we have not had that recently, so I appreciate the efforts of the city council, Wes and Jackie and Jim. So we'll give you some updates as that progresses. And last thing, I have some questions on our schools. First of all, our teachers. How often do they have to be CPR certified? Are they CPR certified when they're hired, and is there any recertification that goes into play? I'm just curious about that. And then with AEDs, I know we have them in our high schools, very important, especially we have a couple for the athletic events, but I think we're getting to a time where they should be at every campus. They're pretty self-explanatory. They don't take a lot of training, and I think medical legally, it would be more of a problem not to have them on the campuses than to have them. So if I could get some of that information, thank you.
Well, I just wanted to comment right away on the collaboration in the 90s when the CNTA and the school district collaborated on many projects. At the same time, there was a Corona City Council and Corona Norco meeting together with a formalized collaborative relationship. So I hope that we can revive it, and I'm glad Wes speaks here. And I'm sure my fellow board members are very, very interested to reestablish the collaboration. On the Jesse Hill, yes, I think all of us were there for the dedication, the first, the dinner, right? The Jesse Hill dinner, and then the game on a Friday night. That's wonderful to meet the families. In terms of the other reports, yes, I visited JFK with my colleague Lisa Marroquin at JFK, as well as Coronita Elementary School. And when I visit those schools, I look at their academic offerings, and they seem to be right on. They're really good. But I also look at asking questions about how much they're implementing our equity, and how's their PD, and what's going on with coherence, can you talk the walk, and so on. But the response I'm getting is that yes, we're getting there. Our staff are talking about it, and we're slowly but surely making sure that we implement our equity policy as well as talk about coherence. The other thing that I'm also looking at is the principal's evaluation. When I go to those schools, I also try to mirror the evaluation of the principals. Oh, it's a confidential topic, but in general, that's how I do when I visit those schools. I look at the survey of teachers, and I look at the program offerings. So I have a pretty good sense of where the principals are at. And I have a very good, fierce, courageous conversation with them. I think I will put it that way because we're very honest. Honest teachers, educators are honest people, and they're good. They can recognize strengths and weaknesses of their programs. On the equity policy, I noticed that other school districts, including San Bernardino County Office of Education, has created positions for equity directors, equity coordinators, and I think that's the way to go. If we really want to put front and center the whole notion of equity, which is different from equality. Equity means providing the needs of students when they need them. So we need someone to really take care of that. And while we are a very good school district, I think something like that needs to be discussed, and I'm giving it to the cabinet to talk about that. With regards to professional development, I'm raising the topic because I think we can only move forward. We're a good school district, but if we take to heart professional development, we have to look at what's going on out there in the field, what works and what don't work. And I think we need to let go of that defensiveness. We have to be open and look at what works and don't work. After all, we are saying they're evidence-based. So we look at evidence, and when we say our PD is rigorous, how do you define rigorous? What do you mean by that? The other thing that I want to raise is the issue of a couple of families called me that they bought a house here in Corona only to find out that they cannot attend their neighborhood school. And I think we need to address that. Either, I know there's, we talk about it, and the state has the regulation, and it's really a negotiable item with the teachers. But the good thing about it is that we have a problem-solving committee. Maybe the district and the teachers can talk about it and look at class size, look at soft cap, and see how we can meet the needs of these families. After all, the overarching need is really family unity. We don't want a fourth grader attending one school and a first brother and sister attending another school because we're not able to take care of the needs for family togetherness. So those are issues that are in my head, and I know they are all doable. And my question then is to Glenn. I think from Glenn about this earlier. In terms of equity policy, how is that going to work with HR? How is that the hiring process?
So there's in the hiring process, obviously there's recruitment and selection are the two big areas, and we look at our guiding documents, including our board policies like the equity policy, our mission statement, to really direct and guide that work. So everything from how we post, where we post, to how we screen and interview is all informed by those guiding documents. So we'll continue to be looking at those as a department and using them to help guide and continue to evolve the process.
Yeah, I think that's very important, because I even in Twitter, some superintendents are opening up their administrative positions with words like looking for administrators with an equity-based mindset. And I could only talk about Colton Unified School District and so on. Even Moreno Valley has an equity coordinator. So they're really making sure that they implement whatever equity policy they have. That's all. Thank you.
I will forego my report because we have a lot of public comment. So at this point in our agenda, we invite the public to address the board. Please limit remarks to 3 minutes or less. Comments will be timed. I remind the audience that I'm sorry. Jump in here. Okay. CNTA, you're up.
Sorry. No worries. We're going to keep it short tonight too, because I know we have a lot of community members that are here to talk with the board and the county. So good evening, everyone. Nice to see all of you. Welcome, Alexis. Congratulations. This past month has us welcoming and dedicating ourselves to what we hope is going to be our best school year yet. I'm holding out for it. We celebrate back to school night, parent information night. We celebrate fall. Okay, no pumpkin spice lattes, yes. Fall weather, not so much. We're hoping. And the renewal of our problem-solving structures in Corona Norco. As I said, we're going to keep it short tonight, but we wanted to thank you for your commitment, and we look forward to seeing our board members this coming Monday at our next joint problem-solving meeting, so that we can continue to dive deeper into the opportunities to expand and improve what is already an amazing district. So thank you so much.
Good evening, Madam President, school board members, and cabinet members. So these are some of our updates from our negotiations. CSCA met with CNUSD regarding the effects of opening the new school, Rondo Elementary, and East STEM at Roosevelt High School. So we've requested information to help us get through some of this negotiating that we're working on. So I'm going to try to keep it short too. So we are working on getting this information. So right now we're kind of at a hold, and we'll be meeting again to conclude those negotiations. This is on our regular negotiations update, which was August 23rd. CSEA met with CNUSD regarding negotiations for the 2019-2020 school year. The district proposed 1.18 for the unit to split between health and welfare wages. And CSEA discussed with the district the cost of housing, groceries, gas, transportation, and healthcare. CSEA explained that it's harder for our members to make ends meet, and the raise that we have not received does not mitigate the rising costs in healthcare. CSEA asked the district to help with the formula and the budget to give us more explanation. And we are questioning services and other operating costs. And over the last 4 years, the district has spent $31.1 million in certain categories that we are asking the district to come back with information so that we can help discuss our negotiations and come into a good agreement. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, now, at this point in our agenda, we invite the public to address the board. Please limit remarks to 3 minutes or less. Comments will be timed. I remind the audience that this is a public session of the board and not a meeting of the public. Although the board will not respond to speakers directly, either during public comment or after the meeting, staff members may contact or follow up with written communication. If multiple speakers address the same subject, I may request that the subsequent speakers only add new information. The time limit for a given topic is 20 minutes, regardless of the number of speakers. If a speaker wishes to be heard on more than 3 topics, the speaker will be allowed up to a total of 10 minutes to address all desired items. Persons who have complaints against employees of the district are encouraged to seek resolution of those complaints by utilizing the district's written complaint procedures rather than orally addressing them at a meeting. Please refrain from applauding after each speaker. Public comment is now open. Mr. Wesley. Wes?
Good evening, and thank you for having me. I think I've only been here a couple times. It's wonderful to see all of you. I'm here to speak on the Yee property in Temesco Valley. One of the things I watch very closely is the regional housing allowance numbers that have come out from the state. The governor has put forward a proposition to make sure that 3 million new homes are built in the next 3 to 6 years. The newest numbers came out about a week ago. For Southern California, there are 1.3 million homes. In the city of Corona, looking at the 3 options, the highest option is 9,500 additional homes, and the lowest option is 7,500. In Riverside County, unincorporated Riverside County, 35,000 additional homes are to be placed somewhere in the county. This will happen over the next 2 years. This regional housing number will start in October of 2021. And these houses or these properties need to be identified before 2029. So I think that it's certainly going to be more expensive to acquire additional property later on down the road. I realize that this property has some issues with grading. In my line of business, I'm not a city council person, I'm an environmental consultant. I work on projects that are like this all the time, that get developed over time. And there is nothing that says you have to do everything at one time. I've seen other examples of STEM high schools that were less than 10 acres, and I think there's some options here. And I think that moving quickly on this could put you in a position where you would be short later on. So I think it'd be a good idea from that perspective. From a policy perspective, I think that Dr. Wallace may be the only one that was on the board when that measure was put out to the public to vote upon to fund the high school. I know it's much more complicated than that, but I want to make sure the 5 of you understand that it's a measure of trust that we put out to people, that they voted for this because they expected to see a high school in Temesco Valley. Not saying that you need to build it tomorrow or establish your plans tomorrow. I do think that if you move to sell this property, taking the two items I just said, I think you're violating some trust. And that's well within your rights as the 5 of you to do. However, I would caution you to ensure that you're making the right decision. I understand that the budgets are important and finding revenue where you can, because we're doing exactly the same thing. The city of Corona will be looking at selling off excess property as well. but be very mindful of those promises that you make. I made the same speech to RCTC back when they were talking about reallocating funding excess toll revenue on the 91, and I want to make sure that I say the same things to you because I think it is important. Thank you.
Okay, please refrain from applauding after each speaker. My last statement. Mr. Peter Petito.
Thank you for this opportunity. I moved my home in Temescal Valley in 2004. As the team of sales reps showed us what our backyard would look like, we discussed the future schooling for the child that my wife was pregnant with at the time. We were told about the elementary school we built in Sycamore Creek, the closest junior high, and as he pointed across Temescal Canyon Road, the rep told us our children would be going to high school right across the road, less than 5 minutes away. This, as you can imagine, was great news and a very strong selling point for us. 3 weeks ago, my almost 15-year-old son started his sophomore year at Santiago, not at the high school that we built in Temescal Valley. From the time he started at Todd Elementary, our assigned high school has gone from Santiago to Centennial, back to Santiago, and then again back to Centennial. Being grandfathered in, we've been able to focus on Santiago since he started at Todd, but due to all the redrawings, and because Centennial is now our designated school, we needed intervention by Dr. Pollock, to whom I owe a good deal of gratitude here, to get through the hoops and get what had been previously promised to us. We visited both schools, and although we felt welcomed by the staff and students at Centennial, my son and I both thought that the school felt almost claustrophobic. Too many buildings and too many people and too much of a small space. As a contrast, my son immediately noted how much more comfortable he was on the campus of Santiago when we visited. This was the high school experience he wanted and the high school experience future classes should have. Although we did get to the school of his choice, attendance is not without some struggle. If there's some extra traffic, the commute can go to 30 minutes or more. An accident on the 15 can tie up the whole valley for an hour or so. This leads to the students having to get up earlier in order not to be late. As I'm sure you realize, as educators, this has become an issue not only for parents concerned about their students getting adequate rest, but even the state legislature, which has at least twice made moves to push back K-12 starting times to make sure the students are well rested and better prepared for school in the morning. I have a daughter who is now in the 6th grade at Todd. She's already thinking about high school, concerned that she may lose a chunk of her friends when she makes the choice between Santiago and Centennial. When we went to school, you and I, we knew that our elementary school friends would join us in junior high school, and that all of our junior high school friends would join us when we moved on to high school. The regular redrawing of boundaries to address overcrowding issues between the two campuses has removed that certainty for Temescal Valley students. Obviously, these decisions that you make on issues such as these have significant impact on students and on families, and I know they're very important decisions to make. In 2006, the board asked us to pass Measure U in order to fund schools, including Rancho Serrano High School in Temescal Valley. The residents helped pass the measure, so we now come to you asking that you fulfill your agreement with us. We want to work with the school board, but also want the school board to work with us to improve our valley and to do what's best for our children. That best solution is a high school, Rancho Serrano High School in Temescal Valley. Thank you.
Please refrain from. Okay. Tracy Davis and Heather Kaplanik, sorry.
Hello, board. My name is Tracy Davis, and we actually have the same topic that we want to present to you. We're all neighbors in the Wild Rose community. I'm speaking on behalf of Tisha Scott, who cannot be here because she's elsewhere tonight. As a Temescal Valley parent, we sent 2 of our older sons to Centennial High School. Both have since graduated. Every morning it took 40 minutes to an hour to get them to school, never mind the traffic after school to get them home. It was outrageous hardship for them to get to and from school. Because of this, we decided to send our youngest student and son to CNUSD schools. Luckily, I teach there. So switching was not a huge problem, even though you guys want to hold on to your students. CNUSD does not offer any busing to the northern communities of Temescal Valley. Why do we have a problem? We have all the traffic's moving north. We have 3 exits to get off to El Cerrito Foothill, Ontario, and Magnolia, to get off to Santan, Santiago, and El Cerrito Middle School. All of them have the relative same start time. It's ludicrous in order to have all of us travel all the same without busing and not have our options open. So my youngest son is never late and has never been unfairly served detention for being late due to traffic. We need a high school in Temescal Valley.
Forgive me, this terrifies me, but it's important. We live in Wild Rose and have lived in Temescal Valley since 1999. Our daughter attended Centennial for freshman and sophomore years. The traffic was unbearable to get to Centennial every morning. It normally took 45 minutes to go 6.2 miles. Let me repeat the absurdity of my last sentence. Almost every morning it took us 45 minutes to drive 6.2 miles. After 2 years of fighting traffic to and from Centennial, in the summer of 2016, we pulled our daughter from CNUSD and transferred her to LEUSD to attend Temescal Canyon High School. Though Temescal Canyon is 15 miles from our home, it only took our daughter 15 minutes to get to and come home from school. CNUSD lost a good student without any disciplinary issues for 2 years because of traffic. If she had had a closer high school in CNUSD, she never would have gone to Temescal Canyon. The half-hour contrast between community times made all the difference. My 4th grade daughter will be transferring to Temescal Canyon after junior high if Centennial and Santiago are her only CNUSD options. My family begs you to build a high school in Temescal Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Callie Noss.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Moss, and I'm the chairwoman of the Temescal Valley Education Committee. I'm going to roll the timeline back a little bit. In June of 2017, you attended a board retreat where you discussed at length the high school in Temescal Valley, how to build it, how to fund it. But there was a question proposed: does Temescal Valley want a high school? So in response to that, I authored a survey. Does Temescal Valley want a high school? Will they accept a STEM high school in alternative to a comprehensive high school? So we put that survey out in July of 2017. In 2 months, we received 1,046 responses. Of those responses, 949 of them were identified as being within the Corona-Norco boundaries. Overwhelmingly, the response was, we not only want a high school, we need a high school. Additionally, there were 87 responses from residents of Horsedeep Canyon, Lemon Grove, Canyon Lake, and Lake Elsinore, who also would love the opportunity to attend a magnet high school in Temescal Valley. While I am the chairwoman of the committee, I live in Lake Elsinore Unified School District boundaries. My children are in 1st and 4th grade. I would love the opportunity to potentially transfer them to a STEAM or magnet high school in Temescal Valley if that opportunity is available to them. I cannot bring you 949 physical bodies tonight, but I brought you their voices. I have those survey results here for you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Teresa Ward.
Good evening. I am Teresa Ward, and I'm a resident of the Trilogy community in Temescal Valley and a retired school teacher. I worry about the educational quality of life of our Temescal Valley middle school and high schoolers. Those living in the north end of Temescal Valley must awaken very early in the morning to be driven to school by parents because the district does not offer busing to these students. Often the commute time one way can take up to 45 minutes because of the traffic on our surface streets, and even longer if there is an accident on the freeway. Having not lived here when the district purchased this property, I've asked around why there was so much opposition from Trilogy residents. I've been told that that Trilogy was a new development built before several of the single-family communities that are here now. And Trilogy residents feared the high school would create more traffic on Temescal Canyon Road. I also learned that the high school planned at that time was a comprehensive high school with a full complement of extracurricular activities, including sports programs. We now know that it is inevitable that this property will be developed because that is what the district is trying to do. But wouldn't a small STEM campus with no sports program produce much less traffic than a higher density housing development? As an educator, I feel it's time that Temescal Valley had a high school. Thank you.
Jan Lee Watson and Jamie Merchant.
Good evening. I am Janley Watson, and you all know Jamie Merchant. She's very active in our schools and in the district. We were members of your 7-Eleven committee, and we're here this evening with a couple of points. We'd like you to know that the recommendation you have before you for discussion tonight was not a unanimous recommendation. Of the 10 committee members, only 6 were present at the time we took that vote. 3 chose to vote in favor of declaring the property surplus. Jamie and myself opposed it, and the 6th committee member abstained. He abstained because district staff could not answer the question of how many students are homeschooled. I know the staff is now working on getting those numbers, and we're very appreciative.
I would just like to ask for you to look at alternatives versus putting it up for surplus at this point. I understand that we're paying fees annually on them, and I think that we think outside the box. There's other alternatives that we could use for the property, such as maybe a communication tower within the district, or even possibly storage containers on it that will find a loophole to where we don't have to pay the fee. I'm not an expert on it, so you would have to do your research if that's even viable or not, but it's just an option. And this is just the last hope that Temescal Valley has to have a high school. And as soon as this is deemed surplus and taken away, there's no other land and there's no other possibilities. So if we could just hold off on it a little bit longer, it would be greatly appreciated.
Jamie and I, because of your time restriction, total 20 minutes, want to ask all those in the audience who believe Temescal Valley needs the high school to please raise your hands. Thank you.
Haley Metz.
Hello, I'm Haley Metz, and I just graduated last year, a year early, from Santiago High School. I'm here to talk about today the use of the property in addition to the current situations at Santiago High School. Right now, it is beyond capacity. I know that the numbers may say you can squeeze in an extra desk here, or someone can fit in the corner over there of that classroom, but in reality, this is not an environment that students should be going to school in, and it's not an environment that students should be learning in. In my senior year, I had a class at P building, the bottom part of the campus, and I had to get up to F building at the very top, only through one staircase in the middle. The other ones would often get crowded and people would fall down and get hurt sometimes. So it would take me more than the 8 minutes to get to class. I would be late every single day. Thankfully, my teacher knew and was, I would say, nice about it and did not write me up for tardy, did not give me detention, but there were students who are not so lucky, who got many detentions, who got many Saturday schools, because there were just too many kids rushing to get to class for them to get their education. Classes are too large in addition. AP classes are supposed to prevent an opportunity for a college-like experience. I took a Physics C class my senior year. That class had 36 students in it. My teacher's average was 36 students for that class as well. I am now going to college this year and I have to retake that class because I did not get enough individual time with the teacher to fully learn the material. My college caps this class at 4 students due to the difficulty of mechanical physics. It is not a class that should be taught to 36 students as if it was a lecture. The current numbers show that there are 24 science classes with less than 22 students at Norco High, and they have an average class size of 24. There are only 9 classes at Santiago with less than 22 students, with an average of 33. Norco High has an environment much more conducive to learning. Santiago High School does not have this, and it is simply because of all of the students coming in from Temescal Valley and Sycamore Creek and all of the sub-neighborhoods of that. The schools may have these room on the books, but you guys just keep reshuffling boundaries and reshuffling lines and who can go here, and maybe this year you can fit over here, and I think we can open up an extra classroom here in a portable building, which may have issues with the lights, and I have even personally started a class in the first week of school and had to sit on the floor because there were not enough desks, and they had to reshuffle again. The numbers are there, and I really think that the situations that students are being put into could be fixed by building a high school on the property in Temescal Valley. Thank you.
Okay, this will be the last speaker, Tamara Eckenrod.
Thank you for your time, service, and commitment. I'm going to talk really, really fast because I have a lot of points to make. One of the things is our kids, their future, their education. I know you guys know this, they come first above anything and everything. They are waking up way too early to get to high school. That is compromising their learning. They have too large of classes. That is compromising their learning. The traffic for Corona, I'm in real estate. People are moving out of Temescal Valley because of school, because of the high school. We are losing amazing families, amazing, incredible families, amazing kids. Sorry, this touches really close to my heart. So I'm sick of losing great friends, great people, because they have to drive 45 minutes to high school. When we have open houses, we are still able to tell people, yes, there is a possibility of a high school. If we are unable to tell people that, we will lose people coming into the community. 64% of home sellers and home buyers look at school district. People will move 5 miles just to go to Santiago. People will leave Sycamore Creek and this area because of school. We do not need to lose that. We do not need to decrease our property values. Traffic. Another thing with traffic, if all of Sycamore Creek, all of Temescal Valley is not on the freeway, the traffic is going to get better. That is a win-win for everybody. There is a win-win in having smaller class sizes for our students. If enrollment is supposedly lower right now and supposedly we can't withhold a high school in Temescal Valley, boundaries can be redrawn for Centennial and Santiago to where that school does have enough students and there's less impact on Santiago and Centennial. So all students in Corona, all of them win. It's not just Temescal Valley, all of them. Let's lower the impact in our schools. Let's lower the impact in these students' lives for, everything that they go through. They should not have to sit in 45 minutes of traffic to get to school. We should not be losing families. This is something that we cannot afford to not do. We can't afford not to. And if that hope is taken away from us of having a high school, it will not only be detrimental to Temescal Valley in so many financial ways, but it will be detrimental to our children. And I just ask that you consider that And I know that they are your priority, and I know that it will be the correct decision for them, because it needs to be. That's it.
Thank you.
I think there was a mistake. I turned in 2 cards.
Mr. Morgan.
I turned in 2 cards.
Yes, I have them.
So I have an item for number 11.
Mr. Morgan, could I speak, please? The 20 minutes was for the Temescal Valley speakers.
You don't get to choose who speaks. You don't get to choose who you hear from. You don't.
We are going to now hear from the people that have said something else on the top of their card where it says topic.
Okay, I don't have to tell you what I'm talking about. I gave you the agenda item, I gave you number 11, and I gave you 16CC. I have comments on both. They're in no way overlap anybody else's comments. They're not the same. In no way am I repeating anything. I have very clear rights.
So
under
the next person is speaking on a different thing, and it is Jackie Cranton.
Okay. So
She's
you're gonna
next.
call me for 11 and for 16?
You are after her.
Okay.
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Jackie Cranton.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here on a different subject, and it's regarding school discipline. I have in front of me the policy for Corona Norco School District. My concern is Norco High School has 2 students. One, May of this year, sent a social media threat, said, "I'm gonna shoot up NHS." That student is back in that school with my child. I have an issue with that. It's a liability for all the students. My question is, what steps have been taken to ensure the safety of the students? What measures have been provided to this student for the mental support of this student? Within the first 2 weeks of school, the students have had to do an active shooter drill. The other student there called in a threat. Now, mind you, both students have been arrested. These students saw these kids get arrested. He called in a threat that he had a gun in his backpack. Both these students are back in that school. It is clear in the policy, fake threats, serious legal consequences, and school discipline. Nope. You think any of these students think it's serious? Not now, they're right back in there. Hate crimes. CNUSD has 0 tolerance for any harassment, bullying, threats, crimes against any protected group at school, online, or on social media. Do you know what happened in May? For 2 days, you had minimal attendance at Norco High School. It was flooded with resources. Do you know how scary that is? But you've allowed the superintendent, the principal, whoever it is, has allowed these students back into that school. It's nonstop, terrorist threats, removal of the students, cause for mandatory recommendation for expulsion. Your education codes back it up, back it up. This is the article here for your May. What my question is, where does it stop? And who's gonna hold the liability if one of these kids snap? And what is it teaching our students there now to not do this? Because I'm telling you right now, these kids know. I have students that kids have already graduated from Norco High School. I have nothing against Norco High. I think it's a great school. But I am so disappointed and disgusted that my child is going to school with these kids that cause such fear that the district has allowed them back in. So I'm requesting written answers to my 2 questions. Thank you.
Mr. Joe Morgan.
So will I have 3 minutes?
You have 3 minutes each
Okay,
time.
for each one? Okay, thank you. So my public comment is, I've been to several meetings. I'm continuously disappointed. I was very, very heartened by Mr. Pollock's work last time. He seemed to be the only serious person in the room. He seemed to be the only serious board member in the room. I was frankly
disgusted and just frankly amazed at Mr. Lawless's little yuck comedy routine. Oh, gosh, schools cost a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money. Do you have a lot of money? Let me look at my pockets. Does anybody have $25 billion to build a school? You know, you're making light of the situation here. I saw you ask the staff, who is your employees, ask the staff if you could comment to a person that was at the dais. You should be embarrassed about that. I've seen over and over again a lack of seriousness and a lack of like this. You don't seem to understand your jobs. You know, you seem to think that, you know, Mr. Pollock's the only one that can learn about land use policy in the district. You know, I don't understand why that is. You're the Corona Norco Unified School Board. You're not the school board for Eastvale. You're not the school board for Norville individually. You have an obligation to watch what goes on and participate. I saw one guy carrying the weight, trying to cut through the BS from the staff and the fake numbers. I saw one guy. And when you guys sat there, you yucked it up, and the rest of you guys just sat on your hands and didn't do anything. You should be embarrassed. You really should be. So, you know, and what I also see is this place is being run like almost like a mafioso operation, covering up criminal activities. Where's Mr. Rossi? Anybody? Mr. Rossi? Seems like a lot of people in this room know about Mr. Rossi and what happened. It's one thing to have bad behavior, it's another thing to have criminal behavior. You guys are covering up criminal behavior. Mr. Rossi was on the payroll of a contractor who was taking checks, getting paid from a contractor. And you guys have no problems just sweeping that under the rug. And you gave the contractor the contract that he purchased. You gave them the contract that they bought legally. The guy's in charge of facilities, hands a contract to a guy that's paying him, and you give him the contract anyway. Don't say anything about it. Pretend it's a personnel thing, and then threaten people that talk about it with jail or civil consequences. Well, guess what? You try it with me. Try it. Try it. It's not a personnel matter. It's a criminal matter. You ought to be filing charges. You ought to be yelling from the hills that this is unacceptable. Just like kids getting molested and not blaming the kids for being molested. On 16cc. On 16cc. You guys really need to stay in your lane. You know, I saw another upzoning matter that was pulled from the agenda in Corona for the infrastructure meeting. You ought to stay in your lane. You're not in the business of development. You're not in the business of land speculation. You're not in the business of making the money on housing. It's not your role. It's not your business. You need to stay out of it. You're not elected to do it, and you will bear responsibility for it. Everybody knows what's going on here. So it's you promise one thing, and you're delivering another. You're going the opposite way, and you're looking to profit off doing it, and that's particularly egregious. You know, I hear a lot of people say, "Well, I wish that government would act more like a business." This is exactly why you don't want government acting like this, because you got the deep pockets. You can borrow money, you can tax us, you can do things. The city government, the police, they can put us in jail, they can take our freedom away. You have a responsibility, and you shouldn't abuse it. You shouldn't be getting into planning in Corona and trying to force your way in. You shouldn't be doing that. If you want to sell a property, sell a property. Just sell it like anybody else. And if you bought it bad, which it sounds like you did, because you sold it for half of the price in the same year, half the price per acre, according to the study session last time, then cut your losses and get out of it, but don't penalize Temescal Valley for it. So, thank you very much.
Tom Richens, 1031 East Grand Boulevard. I filled out the same cards Joe did, and I have the same rights that Joe has. Thank you. I only need 3 minutes, but I don't have quite the bark that Joe has, so sit back and relax a little bit. Throw your history at you. First and foremost, thank you. Thank you, all of you, for going to Jess Hill Stadium. Jess Hill was a good man, but I want to give you some history that you didn't learn that night. We had documents that came rolling into the Corona Historic Preservation Society that were from classmates of Jess Hill. Jess Hill, in these documents, we learned that Jess Hill stood for the lowest of all citizens, all of the high school students, the students that were picked on, the students that had a hard time. We had letters talking about how Jess Hill picked those kids up and carried them forward. We have letters talking about how Jess was on the field a great man, but off the field a better man. If you guys can go forward with the Corona History Association and continue to honor Jess Hill, please, by all means, do so. And thank you for the work that you've done. It was beautiful, beautiful how it was all organized. The Corona football coach, the Corona high school principal, all of you guys were just beautiful as you orchestrated that event. I'd like to turn my attention to Temescal Valley. 1880, Morgan left his wife Louisa to travel to a small city called Tombstone, Arizona, where he joined his brothers Wyatt and Virgil. When Morgan left his wife, he left his wife Louisa in Temescal Valley to live with her parents, Nicholas and Virginia. I don't know how many of you know this, but her family lived in Temescal Valley. In those days, in 1880, there was no Corona, there was no Norco. Obviously, there was no Eastville. But we had a rough and tough and great people of Temescal Valley. The people of Temescal Valley were here before we were here. They were here before our city. They had a reputation, the Temescal Valley people, for being tough. They were hunters, they were farmers, they were beekeepers. They raised a tough living. They broke the ground for Corona to be established. Corona's very first architect, Leo Croonan, designed the very first Temescal school. It was beautiful. It looked like just the one that was built in Auburndale, and it looked kind of similar to the one that was built in Otto. But it was a beautiful school. The Temescal school stood beautiful. The Temescal people loved that school, and it was a shame when we lost it. I'm down to 10 seconds, but take a look around this room tonight. The Temescal people are the toughest people. They are the lovable people. By God, all that's possible, give them their high school. Thank you.
Matt Woody.
Hello, board. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Matt Woody. I live here in Corona, on the west side of town. I can actually literally see Prado View Elementary when I step outside. And I just wanted to speak tonight. You know, there's a lot of people who showed up. It's great for the school board to have residents and parents care and come to these meetings. I think it's a shame that you're going to enforce some rule you have about cutting off a discussion at 20 minutes when so many parents have taken time away from their families. Some have even brought their families with them because that's what they had to do, but they came to address their elected representatives. And I think you do them a huge disservice by not letting them speak. So I would urge you to consider making a motion to change those rules, or maybe it's not even an official rule, maybe it's just something they're saying. I don't really know, but I think people here deserve to have their voices heard. Thank you.
Sir, just to let you know that every card that came through, they came to the microphone tonight. Every card came through. Okay. Are there any items to be pulled from the agenda?
Yes, Madam President. 14E as in Edward. 14E as in Edward. 15A as in Adam. 15J as in John.
And then I have 16D through G. D through G, 16.
Okay, we will vote on all the consent items. So can I have a motion? All in favor, please vote.
Madam President, our first item for discussion and action takes us back to our first presentation this evening, or actually second presentation by Dr. Trevor Dietrich. And as you know, he is proposing a slight name change to Philistine Rondo Elementary to become Philistine Rondo School of Discovery. I don't know if it needs any further discussion, but it does require action by the board.
Any discussion?
I would move that we,
John?
I just wanted to comment. I like the fact that you really got the students involved and the parents and the families involved. It's going to be their school, and I know it's a cross section of a couple current elementaries, but I appreciate you taking the effort, getting the community involvement and the input in making the decision. Thank you.
Anybody else? I like the colors, but the orange does not match. But and I can't wait to see the dinosaur or whatever this is. I don't have little kids, so I don't know these little animals. Anyway, sorry. So, any other discussion on this? Oh, okay. Just for a vote. Motion?
yeah, I would move that, that we would go with the Philistine Rondo School of Discovery.
Second. All in favor? Let's just vote.
Okay, and then moving to item O is, again, goes back to our presentation presented by the principal at Jefferson, Alejandro Vasquez. And this is regarding the name change for the new Jefferson Elementary School Library to be named the Mary Ann Sherman Library. This is up for discussion and action for board approval as well.
Any discussion?
I would wholeheartedly support. Mary Ann has done so much for just so many of us. Probably a lot of folks in this room as well. So I would.
I'd like to.
Yeah, please.
Yes, I've known Mary Ann for a long time, and her latest thing is giving vegetables. We call her the vegetable lady now, because she gets donations from a company, and she literally donates to churches, and I mean, she just spreads the love with everybody, and she'll come with big boxes of whatever she gets. Sometimes it's vegetables and Tylenol, sometimes vegetables and some other kind of vitamin, or this week was Ensure. So it's whatever she gets from this company, and she donates to the different groups in our community. And she has been a very, very hard worker for many years. So this is going to be something that will be a great thing for her. Anybody else? Okay, motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, our next item for discussion action, although it is not required of the board, it is for the Board of Education to nominate candidates for the 2019 CSBA Director at Large, African American, American Indian, and County. And if you don't have any nominations, there's no requirement to take action, but you can if you'd like.
I don't have one. Okay.
Okay, so then moving on. This is just a discussion only. It has been requested by the board to consider holding a beginnings workshop through CSBA, using a CSBA consultant. And in order to have this happen, we need to come up with some dates that all 5 board members are able to offer up to schedule this workshop. It would be about 4 hours in length. So if you, we need to have a discussion and then bring forward any possible dates.
I think it would be a great idea for us to be hearing the different bylaws and different measures from one of our leaders at state for CSBA. So does anybody have a date that maybe late September?
What was their availability? Let's narrow that down first.
Yeah, the consultant, it was going to be really, end of September would be good, the last week, or maybe even moving into October. The further out, the more flexible, obviously. But if we could come up with maybe 3 possible dates, that would give us some dates to go back and offer to them, and hopefully one of those dates would work. And they do workshops on Saturdays as well. So it could be in the evening, like we normally hold our study sessions. It could be during the day or on a Saturday.
I'm going to propose, in the interest of time, that maybe Linda send out something. We send dates back, because I don't think they really want to hear us about our calendars. I think that's probably a little bit more efficient way to come up with a date. Have her send something in the morning and we'll send dates up.
Was there a day that is more preferable for them, like a Thursday versus a Monday?
It's whatever's more preferable for you as a board.
Okay.
I would propose for October. I think it gives us a little bit more time, and even Saturdays. Yeah. 4 hour block day. Just think a little bit later for planning purposes.
Maybe I think for me, Tuesdays are always the best. But I would like to go back to John's suggestion of having Linda send us a couple of number of dates, both Saturday and Tuesday. See if I can manage to match up.
Madam President, that takes you to your first hold item that was requested. I believe it was by Mr. Pollack, and it was 14E regarding the edgenuity.
Right, I just wanted a little bit more information on what this entails. I know it's PD, it looks like it's more for the School of Innovation, but I just kind of want a little bit more information on what it is, what we expect from it.
Sure thing, I can shed light on this. As you know, we have Odyssey, the Odyssey program for our students taking courses online, which you would see at the comprehensive high schools, and students would be taking Odyssey in summer school as well. So Edgenuity, the company purchased Odyssey. So what they provide is a program that we would like to offer to our students in the hybrid school, because one, it is excellently aligned to the standards and aligned to the blended program model. And so that's why we're looking at this specific, purchasing this program. The cost is about $1,700, almost $2,000 more than Odyssey, but we believe that based on its complement to the hybrid school, specifically the blended program model, that it would definitely serve the needs of our students.
How many schools are gonna have this program?
Right now, it would be at the hybrid school only, and we're looking at 60 students that are enrolled in the hybrid school. And it's housed at JFK. And we're gonna be monitoring this program and seeing if it's something we wanna grow that would go into the other schools. Currently, we are still using Odyssey at the other schools.
Thank you.
$15A. Yes.
Okay, I'm motion that we approve 14E, continuity.
All in favor?
All right, 15A, there's multiple items. However, I'm just interested in the bottom of page 12, if we're on the same page. Save the Kids. These assemblies, I believe they're this week, if I'm hearing right. I know Friday culminates at Centennial. I just want a little bit more information on that. It sounds like an exciting program, and I'm glad. I'm hoping that it's publicized quite a bit for the Centennial evening, but the other schools that are gonna have, if you could just update me, I appreciate it.
Mr. Pollock, I can give you that information. So yes, correct. It's this coming Friday. We are having the program is going to be at 3 schools: Santiago High School, El Cerrito, and then Roosevelt. And we're piloting this program and see what kind of response we get from the student community, obviously the staff, administration, and then our parent community. We do have the parent program for Centennial High School, and the schools were chosen for various reasons that represent various areas of the city. Really important that we want to see the middle schoolers, how they respond to it as well. And the reason for Friday night's program at Centennial is it's the only school that does not have a home football game. And we're going to your point on publicizing it, we do have our communications division sending out information today, in fact, and we'll continue to do it throughout the week in social media and other avenues that we know work. And we're hoping for a big turnout. And Dr. Sanchez was working the logistics today, finalizing them with Colin Kirchner, the speaker, but also our school administration teams. And looking forward to it. I do want to add that obviously the effects of the cell phone with stress on the youth is huge. We all know that. So what we're doing is we're going to see Colin, our guest speaker, comes to us highly recommended by Chad Willardson, that all of you know. And he's booked 18 months out, but hopefully through connections and with a successful program on Friday. By the way, everyone's invited, and we'd like to see you out there. So that's what that program is all about. And one last thing I think is important is really looking at getting grant funding for the future and bringing it to other communities.
Good, thanks. Now for the Centennial, it's parent, but the students can come. So if students who, if the assemblies were not at their school, they're more than welcome. We're pushing, Todd and CFIS and Rainey, those kids. The Centennial one.
The Centennial one is 6 p.m. And
so
yes,
we could push
families are encouraged to attend. Absolutely. And we'll push that too.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for that. I move to accept 15A.
Second. All in favor?
Okay, Okay, 15J. So again, I think it's just extremely important. Actually, what we just talked about with the Save the Kids, we have National Bullying Prevention Month, and I know we do a good job, but obviously it's an ongoing struggle, an ongoing issue. That we need to work on bullying prevention. So what type of plans do we have for October, and what things can we look forward to get the message to stop this bullying?
So the October is a huge month, as you know, and the board knows. So on the 23rd, we're going to have everyone's invited. In fact, we secured it this last week. We have here at the district, we're going to kick it off with we'll have at 8 o'clock in the morning. We'll be up in the front of the district. We'll have our own shirts and our banners and try to create some attention in the community. So we'll go out marching a couple of streets down. We'll have the fire department here and also law enforcement. That's just kind of like a kickoff, but really
That's September 23rd in preparation for October.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I said October, September. And what we'll do is, so we'll have those activities, but really the activities are happening throughout the year at school sites, as you know. What If Week, for example, we mentioned at the World Youth Kindness Conference, and really programs throughout the year with our communications division as well. So I don't know, Adita, if you want to mention anything, highlight anything, because I know your division has done lots and lots of work.
Sure. So we also have, in addition to what Sam already described, is we have activities taking place here at the district office, in fact, with our adult population, to further emphasize the importance of bullying prevention. And so there's a week-long dedication to different activities that we'll be hosting here at the district office for staff. We also work very closely with our students, our ASB students, to ensure that they're assisting us in our anti-bullying efforts. We're in production of 2 anti-bullying videos right now that we'll be sharing with students and our high schools, and encouraging principals to share those videos in their homerooms with their students and before pep rallies and those types of events. The CNUSD KIND initiative is an ongoing initiative, and so we look forward to continuing to work with our students and collaborating with them, because we get some of the best ideas from our students. So we'll continue to keep the board updated on those events.
Also, there's the World Youth Kindness event. It's a 2-day, Monday, October 7th and 8th. So that's all of our 4th graders.
I know this is a difficult question, and there might not be an answer, but you know, we're making great strides in presenting things and programs and things like that. But when you get down to it, and you know, we're data driven and we look at numbers, and I don't know if you can look at these numbers, but what's the impact at the schools, with our kids, with our families? Do we have data that what we're doing is making an impact?
It is a heck of a good question.
I know there might not be an answer, but something we can look at. But I mean, again, it's great to do these things, and I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong, but we need. I want to see that is making a difference.
So as you know, through the mental health committee that we have, we've done lots and lots of proactive measures. In addition to that, we do have data that our counselors keep. It is, you know, some of those numbers are confidential. Obviously, we don't have no names, but we do have data that we keep. And if you'd like, we can share some of that data with the board. We'll be happy to do that. And we have, our data collection goes back 3 years. And it's really good information, very eye-opening information.
That would be great to have. Thank you for your time.
And I would encourage, and I'm sorry, Sam, I don't know if you said this, but What If Week, I know we just got some notifications, I think Corona Fundamentals be doing it. I think, is it this week or next? This week, yeah. If you have time to go to one of those, and honestly, I don't think it matters whether it's elementary, middle, or high school. It's pretty impactful. And they do some pre and post. They do for the world kindness. They do some pre and post with the kids. So there is some data behind that stuff.
Thank you. So I move to approve 15J.
Okay, we will move on to reporting, finding, and recommendations on the youth property. Mr. Giles. I'm sorry. 60DEFG.
Yeah, I just, for this vote, I just need to abstain because I'm on the Y board, so. And it's, I don't want it to be a conflict of interest.
I vote for approval.
You second? Second? Favors? Okay. Report on findings and recommendation of the youth property, Mr. Giles.
Thank you, Madam President. June 11th, 2019, Board of Education adopted 1819 Resolution number 85, authorizing the formation of the 7-11 Committee to consider the best use of approximately 57 acres of unimproved land located down in the Temescal Valley area, near Lawson Road and the 15 freeway. So tonight before you for your information and discussion, if there is any discussion, is the report of findings and recommendations on the Yee property from the 7-11 Committee. So we have Doug Yeoman, legal counsel with Parker Covert here tonight. So I'm going to invite Doug to the podium. Thank you, Doug, for being here. In case the board has any questions regarding the findings and recommendations from the 7-11 Committee. And this item will be brought back in October, on October 1st for your consideration and approval.
Just briefly, because this is just an advisory report to the board, and the board can go with any portion of it, nor any portion of it. It's mainly to give the board an idea of what the community's interest is and what they prioritize the use of the property to be. And the 7-11 Committee, the legislative purpose is in requirements before the board can make any decision regarding surplus space that it has to form the 7-11 Committee. And so the 7-11 Committee had 4 different meetings, including a public hearing of the community, and 35 members in the Temescal Valley area came out for a public hearing. I heard a good portion of what was said at that public hearing tonight, and a lot of that, most of which is also summarized in the report that you have before you. And so just to highlight, on page 6 of the report, it gives what their priority of use is. And not surprisingly, other than the very first item, everything is centered on what is going to be the impact on traffic by any potential use of that property. And the first one, consistent with what they were saying, they'd love to have a full high school, a STEM, STEAM, some kind of educational facility. And they also wanted to put land swap because although it's approximately 57 acres, it's not all usable because of the topography. And so if you developed it, you could potentially have different pads. And so one of the pad could be used potentially for something less than a full high school, which could still leave other pads available for exchange or selling or leasing, any number of things. But the only way you can get that is if you kind of surplus the property, saying that the whole 57 acres is not needed or can't really be utilized for school purposes. And then you can go from there. And so what they had was, that was the first choice. Then in order with the least impact of traffic to the most would be assisted living housing, commercial tourism, very low density housing, which means a state 1 acre minimum, and age qualified housing, 55, 62. And those were all acceptable uses in descending order, with school being one and age qualified housing be the least acceptable use. And so that was the report from the committee to the board for consideration.
Do you have any questions or any information we can provide for you? Again, this will come back in October for action on your part to adopt or not, in full or in part. But tonight is just an opportunity for you to clarify, ask any questions or anything on the work of the committee.
So going to page 6, and we have the list in descending order. So it's our prerogative. We could say we want choice number 1, and that's it.
That's correct. The board could, on October 1, could just have a resolution declaring the surplus, take no further action, let the economy, let the student enrollment, let a number of things change to what the board might feel would be a more appropriate time to do something with the property. And it could be from that to potentially declaring a surplus for a particular purpose, or even declaring the surplus and asking or directing staff and consultants to explore other opportunities with the property, all or a portion of it too, to bring that back to the board. So there's a number of different options.
Well, that's kind of my concern, is exploring other opportunities. Specifically, the high density housing, those things that might not be on that list. So, I want something concrete. If we are going to surplus this, I want something concrete that's going to benefit the students and the residents of Temescal Valley. I do. Another question I have is I really want to see. I know we talked about it at the study session, but I find that hard to believe that we cannot just grade and prepare a portion of that, a pad. I just find that hard to believe that we couldn't focus on an area, not I think the 37 usable acres, just, so I just have some difficulty understanding that. And so I guess I want some concrete evidence before the October meeting that shows me that this is the only option to grade all 37 or 57 acres.
And I really can't weigh into that other than to say that the theory behind it is that there has to be a lot of cutting and filling areas. And so you have to touch a good portion of the 57 acres in order to make any of it usable. Otherwise, you're bringing in tons and tons of soil or exporting. So the best use is to use what's already there and try to balance the site the best you can. I mean, that's the theory behind it.
At our last study session, it was mentioned again tonight about the impact of the students coming from Temescal Valley into Santiago and into Centennial. How many students are there? I mean, you're talking about many, and the classes are fulfilling. How many of those are actual from Temescal Valley? Do you know?
Yes, the information we gave you at the study session, we currently have 947-ish, don't quote me on that number, it's right in that ballpark though, 9th through 12th grade students living south, Wyrick Road south.
South. And those students have a choice to go to Santiago or Centennial.
Yeah, the vast majority of those students, 850 to 900 students, attend Santiago or Centennial. Some of them choose to go to JFK. Some of them go to Corona High. Some of them go to Norco High. So, but the majority of those students, 90% of them attend either Santiago or Centennial High School. And we gave that data all to the board at the study session.
The board is asking for clarification. However, if we were to build a STEAM school, not saying that we would or wouldn't, or a STEM school, would that also be opened up for students to from the other areas besides Temesco Valley to attend? And how would that impact JFK?
Certainly could be the board's prerogative to how you wanted to determine the boundaries. You could determine boundaries. You could make it a magnet type school. That would really be the board's prerogative of what you would set as the parameters for who could attend that school. You can certainly open it up district-wide if you wanted to, impact on JFK. If it was the same program, I'm sure it would have some impact. If it was a STEM type program, which would be really different than JFK, probably not much impact on JFK.
I don't think if it's a STEM, I don't think it would have, personally, I don't think it would have a lot of impact. If it was a middle high school, like a GO came out with it might.
Because the connection with Norco High is got to be considerable because they would have to drive to take a class or have the professors go down there to run the same kind of program that you would have at JFK. So you'd have to consider that too as well, because you're talking about transportation back and forth.
The other thing, and I brought it up at the study session, was looking at changing. You gave us numbers for Wyrick South, correct? So if we move that just a little bit to include the retreat and some of those lagos, because those numbers were not in there, correct?
It was Wyrick Road South are the numbers we provided you, correct?
Right. So I wanted some numbers for a little bit more north. Am I correct in that? So including the retreat area and Dos Lagos, some of those areas. If we move that, those numbers are going to go up in my estimation.
I'm sure they would, yeah. How much, I don't know.
Okay.
If you're asking me to give you a number.
No, but I did ask for those last time.
Yeah, if you moved it north, further north you moved it, yeah.
Right, so again, I'm not talking a great distance, but if we looked, again, including those communities, I think that those numbers would go up.
So that would include the Lake Elsinore area?
No, our district boundary ends at Indian Trunk Trail, so we would not be able to go south of Indian Trunk Trail.
If there was not enough students, we would open to Lake Elsinore area?
Well, obviously, they could attend, but Lake Elsinore would have the right to first right of refusal to allow them to come to our district, correct?
Because I know there's some people who are from Lake Elsinore area, that's right.
We would certainly encourage that, just like Rondo, we're going to, pull people from Chino, but that district that they're leaving has the first right to approve or deny the inter-district transfer.
Well, my question was because somebody spoke from Lake Elsinore, so I'm just asking.
One more question. The first gentleman that spoke about the property was saying that the governor's proposal by 2021-2029, that there should be additional homes in the range of, let's say 10,000, okay? How many of those housing would be for age qualified 55, 62-year-olds versus young families? And how many children are we looking at to fulfill that school? So will that school grow or will it decline? That's the kind of question that I don't know if you've even projected there.
We haven't even projected that because that There is no legislation right now requiring that. It's being discussed and proposed. So we don't even have anything to run those numbers on yet.
Okay, thank you.
Well, in the past months of conversation and also at the last study session, you provided us what I call a parade of horribles, barriers that it's impossible to use that property as a school because of its situation. We've been talking about this for months, right? As it goes back and forth. And now this evening, I noticed a switch in terms of conversation. Now we're talking about logistics, attendance, how many can come in. But the findings here of the committee is to declare that property as surplus, right? I'm a little bit confused of where we want to go on this one. Because I argued months ago that it's possible to create the school there, right? That we need the research to show that it's impossible. And that's what you did at the last study session, a parade of horribles that it's impossible. Because can you recall or summarize for us how much money are we going to spend? Some millions of dollars?
Yes. The estimate we received from our land engineer, if you will, Mark Rogers with TRG Land, was that to prepare the 57 acres to give approximately 37 buildable acres of land, which would be 3 paths, approximate cost today's dollars was a little over $18 million was the estimate we received from him. That's just what we would call phase 1 site prep. And then of course, after that, you would have the cost of construction to actually build on those paths. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then I asked you the question.
And then you're looking
at the funding for it? Remember I asked
Yes, you did. You do not have that kind of money. And then you have to add to that, the cost of construction today for schools is about $650 a square foot. So if you take JFK, for example, it's about 85,000 square foot facility, I believe. So if you do the math at $650 square foot, you're gonna need another $60 to $65 million to actually build on top of the $18+ million to build the school. So you put those together, you're looking at a $75, $80 million project in today's dollars.
Okay. So
and the Measure U funds have all been expended. There is no allocation of Measure G dollars for that. So as I laid out the other night, there are other options that you would have to find some other source of revenue in order to do that, because you would need somewhere in the neighborhood of $75 million to do that. Not impossible, but that's what you would need.
It's not impossible. This evening, we heard community activism here at work, community democracy, right? They want the school. And so if you're saying that it's not impossible, we should be working with the community to how to find a solution. Because that's exactly, I think I'm feeling a switch on the thinking here. Because number one is new high school. That's number one. Even the recommendation is for us to select number one. That's very obvious.
If I can get thank you, I appreciate that. And let me just also, if I could, share the same sentence. I do appreciate you as a school district having citizens voicing their opinions. We do appreciate that. Thank you for coming. I think it's a matter of step and process, though, in response to your question. As I think back, my tenure was my 12th year, so I certainly can't speak to what actually happened before. But we work here. It is we have to plan for the future. There's really no point in talking about the fact that we weren't here before, and so therefore we can't respond. We will bring all the information you're looking for. Mr. Powell, you mentioned about technical information. We can bring all this information. The way I look at this is really more providing hope and what it looks like into the future. And so there's steps and sequence of the work that we're doing. You may recall back in 2018, I think I remember, I can't remember exactly which month, the board took the active approach to really, in essence, promise all of us, folks in CNUSD and downtown Temescal Valley, that that piece of land that we describe as the property, that through a resolution, that whatever the value of that property is, however we convert the value of the property, or maintain the property the way it currently is right now, as Doug had mentioned, and let the market does its trick for down the future. Bottom line is we want to optimize the value for that property, but most importantly is to fulfill that promise that that value for that property is going to be kept for the future use of potentially building a high school. The board has already done that. And I do understand, and as your superintendent, that's my charge. That's what we're going to do. The board has passed that resolution. Stepwise, the reason why the e-property is even here for discussion and going through the 7-Eleven committee is because we were trying to exercise and taking the steps in due diligence to maximize that property. Because at the time, the report that we got from our professionals is that you may want to consider doing something with the property because the market has pretty much peaked out and the time in the remaining future, maybe it will be a little bit questionable in terms of converting that property into some kind of future value. That's the whole reason why the 7-Eleven committee was formed, is to take a look at what options we have to maximize the value so we can keep that value either through a land swap or maybe potentially sell the property for the use of potentially building a high school for Temescal Valley area. That is the whole intention. So I just want to bring the focus back and also to clarify the intention. I actually think we're all saying the same thing here. We want what's in the best interest of our students. We understand the traffic is a horrible situation. We're not in these seats. We don't believe in those things that we should be doing for all our kids. We will not be in these seats. But I think the clarification is that when it comes to the realization of what we need to do and trying to be practical and smart about the action we take, the first step is to take a look at what we can do to maximize the value of that piece of property. So I think the people have spoken. I mean, the board has a decision to make, as Doug had mentioned. You don't have to take actions at all and let the market does its trick. Maybe, who knows? The economy is a very difficult thing to predict. Perhaps a year or two down the road, that piece of property could increase in value. It may, based on what I'm hearing, some of the reports in terms of the increase in the needs of building new homes in the area. We don't know that. That hasn't not been projected into the entire plan. But the step that we're taking right now, though, is really taking a step forward to making sure that those things get realized. That's all the 7-Eleven committees really is all about. You don't have to take any actions. You could take the action of moving forward and converting the property by surplusing it. Because what I learned, I'm certainly not a real estate person, but what I learned through the process is that you can't take any of those steps in terms of converting that piece of property to some kind of monetary value unless the property is surplused. So that is really the key here. You don't have to do anything, but if you want to do something, though, the step has to be clear first. So I just want to say that we are really saying the same thing. These steps that we're taking are active steps moving forward into fulfilling that promise. I think at the end of the day, really what this is, and one of the speakers said it very, very well, is really to provide that hope that we're going to move forward one day, that we can have a high school down there, because we all want that for our kids.
So that last comment I want to echo. Mr. Pollock's question. With this recommendations 1 to 5, if we choose number 1, we can do that as school board members. Number 1, because he asked me about this, and I want to echo that.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, first would be to declare surplus. That'd be the first action, and then either concurrent with that action or a subsequent action. If you wanted to use it as a high school, then we would be able to explore what would we have to do in order to bring a high school, whether it's a full high school, is it STEAM, is it STEM, to that site, and what would it cost? And then look to see, based on the numbers and based on the students that could potentially be generated by both the economic study that just came down, the implementation of that, plus housing that's already being marketed, will soon be marketed. When is it a time? Because I mean, it's never too early to start the planning phase for that in order to have a high school potentially at a time where the real need is there and it's completely justifiable.
But the prerequisite to planning high school is to declare it first as surplus.
Yes.
But I don't want it to be another promise to the community. Let's do it, declare it a surplus, and then nothing happen.
No, surplus
So I
doesn't.
want to solidify that to support my colleague.
Declaring surplus does not necessarily mean that you're going to sell it. It just means that you want to utilize and make the most optimum use and increase the value to the greatest extent. Whether that's putting in a high school, selling off other portions that are on that site that aren't needed, or any combination.
Well, there's an additional problem, and I don't, nobody has said it, but it was in our study session and said pretty firmly too, in addition to the property not being usable till minimum 18 million, we don't have access. I mean, that came out pretty strongly in the study session. So yeah, you could build, but my understanding, unless I'm wrong, Helen, is that there currently is no way to the property. We don't have access because of the clay company, and I know you've tried and to negotiate that. So, and I'll let you respond in just a minute to that, but I think we...
It wasn't that bad, what I'm saying. I think for those of you who don't know in the room, we've had discussions with Norco College in doing a joint venture in the past, as we have with JFK, which is a really unique, good, strong model. Because honestly, we don't have the dollars to do it. So if we can work with another agency, there's some possibilities, but I just don't see this property as a usable piece based on the fact that to get it to where it needs to be is cost prohibitive. But if there's someplace else that we can look at to kind of look and do a co-property, I think it would be a stronger, for those of you who are in Temescal Valley who have not been to JFK, I would strongly recommend you go over there and look at the program. It's a very strong program. So I'd like to propose that we continue some of those talks with local college. So to my question, as far as the access to the property, I don't think your mic is going to speak. Yeah.
There are some access issues, which again is why this step in the process has not been explained is so important, because there are some opportunities for access to the property, but without the property being declared surplus, we cannot negotiate any transactions of that nature to get access to the property. So there is some access issues. As we all know, it's landlocked, right? And so part of the surplus process here is that once it's declared surplus, as Doug said, doesn't mean we're going to run out and sell it. We can amp up the conversations with neighboring property owners, if you will, to see if there's some kind of swap, land trade, swap, something we can negotiate to get access to the property, which then makes it a much more viable piece of property than it currently sits. So yes, that's all part of the surplus process.
What is the penalty right now for non-use?
The penalty is 1%, I believe it's 1% annually of the assessed valuation, which remember we just had it reappraised in 2017, I believe, might have been 18, about 1.27 million. So basically we're paying $12,700 a year, so it's not huge. I know one of the speakers said maybe we could put a communications. The intent of the law that if you're not going to build an educational facility on it, that you pay the non-use fee. So I don't think that would be very ethical.
Some emergency storage units, something like that. That's
yeah, but again, how are you going to get to them? How are you going to get them there, and how are you going to get to them? Because there is no access to the property. So that makes it difficult to make it usable.
I think we do have some access. It's not, you know, at this point. I mean, I've been up there. I had access to the road. I mean, if it's for emergency use, you know, water, supplies, whatever, in case there's a horrible earthquake or something.
I'll let legal respond. I just don't know. I'll let Doug respond. But ethically, for me, since we've not done anything with the property to now put something on it to make it look like we are may be a bit sketchy to me, but Doug, I'll let you comment on that.
Hello? Okay. Yes, I mean, for it not to be non-use, it needs to be for a school purpose and tied into that purpose. Putting emergency storage units, I think that'd be something that we would want to probably pass by the state before you even try to consider that, to see whether that would be something that the state would find to be acceptable to take it off the non-use. Because I don't think the purpose of the State Board of Education is to fine districts for not using the property. Because even once you surplus the property, if you ever had the intent to sell or do something with it, that non-use fee ceases to exist for the first year, because it gives you a year, and probably you can get that extended for 1 or 2 additional years if you're actively trying to do something with the property. But that would be something that would have to really run by the state, because it's not a real clear school use.
Okay, any more comments? All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Well, I would like to thank everyone that came out tonight to speak. This is your time to speak to us. And like I said, every single one of the blue cards that were filled out got to speak.
Yeah, but you told people not to speak.
Thank you very much for coming tonight. We appreciate you. And now the board and cabinet will go into closed session.